belief and are of the firm conviction that the unification of Africa is possible, you find those leaders being murdered under the guise of protecting the sanity of the countries which they govern, you know, and they create some stories around the death of these leaders. And, you know, so if you look at the example, the recent example, the example, when we begin to have control, over the affairs of our own individual countries, that is when the unification of Africa would be plausible. And so, yes, Burkina Faso has shown the way that it is very possible to begin to develop your own country, because if you can't develop where you are, you cannot aspire to develop other countries. You must first of all take, you know, a very strict position of developing your country internally. Because when your people are comfortable, when your people are not hungry, you know, when people have the basic necessities of life, then you can have the pleasure of extending, you know, that vision that you have to the rest of the continent. Not think that we are there. I mean, you may like him, you may hate him, but Paul Kagame is also in his own small way doing something. You know, so yes, it's possible. I think that conversation will be had, maybe not in our lifetime, but eventually I believe that the unification of Africa is possible. I've seen flags that people have created, United States of Sovereign Africa or something like that, USSA, you know, and so people are beginning to be aware, you know, that all we need to do is to unite. Because if we don't unite as a monolithic force, it will be very difficult even to trade with the West. I mean, if you look at international trade, for instance, that's what I'm reading. If you read the World Trade Organization's, you know, regulations and all of that, which governs the operations of trade, it is quite clear that, you know, the laws or the regulations which govern the EU are the same laws governing Ghana. Now, how do you then marry the two? Because you, Ghana, you are just a fraction, you know, of in terms of trade. You are just a fraction. You are really not that powerful, you know, to have what it takes to trade with, for instance, the EU. You can't export anything to the European countries, but the same laws apply, you know. So we must somehow have those conversations. But I'm happy that we've started. Going forward, I would expect that we elect leaders who think deeply about, you know, first of all, the people within their countries, and then move beyond the peripheries of the others, and then look at the unification of Africa. But again, if that is going to be possible, then all the Francophone countries must be fully liberated, because as you speak, they are not fully liberated. Yes, some of the common law countries are also not fully liberated because we are still part of Commonwealth. However, if you look at the kind of control that the French have on the French-speaking countries, is quite serious, you know. So yeah, again, until they are fully liberated, the bottlenecks will still be there, but you know, eventually they will be surmounted, and full liberation and unification will be brought to the people of Africa.
Thank you very much. We will sit down. So let me say hearty good morning to Alhaji ABA Husseini. Alhaji, good morning.
Good morning, bless.
I trust you're fine.
By the grace of the Almighty Allah. That time.
Right. And also Dr. Felix Larry Esilfi. Doc, good morning. I hope all is well.
I'm doing well. How about you?
I'm very well, thank you.
Thank God.
Let me move next to Alhaji. Alhaji, we're having conversations about South Africa. Cyril Ramaphosa, he was at the Oval Office, met with Donald Trump, except that meeting didn't end well. Trump was accusing him of overlooking, overseeing some injustice in South Africa, where allegedly white South Africans, farmers especially, were being killed and then their lands given to the blacks over there. And it was actually an ambush if you look at the video and see what happened at the Oval Office.
Let me say a good morning once again to your good self, to my missing brother, Kwame. I see him once in a blue moon now. I know that the dictates of the job now is taking him away. I wish him well, nevertheless. My brother here, good morning to you, my brother, and to our Pan-African viewers out there. I'm a little bit slow today because I'm really tired.
You want to bed?
No, I've been doing this hard and you stay over. Sometimes you go in the morning, you have to sleep over there till the flights depart, and it's been very excruciating. Not to talk of the psychological impact of the pressures that are mounted, I'm sure that. But nevertheless, I can guarantee that on the balance it's a very good work, and it is service to Allah. The Burkina people of the Sanaro Conference, as usual, I continue to cherish their memory wherever I am. They've contributed to making me who I am. Let me say for a start on the issue that you have, and Kwame has touched on a lot of issues. You know, I'm an avowed, unapologetic Pan-Africanist. And I've always said that, you see, bless, when you sell yourself for half penny, they'll buy you for nothing. Clearly, as far back as the 1950s and 1960s, the blueprint for the economic emancipation of Africa had been so eloquently crafted and delivered by the visionary founder of this nation, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, the legendary Pan-Africanist and the foremost African patriot. Bless, if you take due cognizance of today's global environment, the answer to the protection of the interests of any group lies in the coalescence, not balkanization. So while others are coalescing, grouping, regrouping to protect their interests, Africa is balkanizing. Sudan is splitting into South Sudan, North, I don't even know whether it's North Sudan or Sudan. Other countries are agitating to break. Many African leaders are content to sitting on top of small, tiny, non-viable states. And I say non-viable because today, look, many African states standing on their own are not viable. They cannot provide the means of sustenance for the overwhelming majority of their people. So you come face to face with that paradox. I say time without number of the three evils of slave trade and colonialism, in which the continent was plundered, massive plunder of Africa's resources. And Kwame pointed out, in order to perpetuate that division and ensure that our resources are taken away. And take note, during the colonial era, most of Africa's resources were taken to the metropolitan colonial areas. Britain, milk Ghana, milk Nigeria, milk the Commonwealth so-called states. And these resources were sent to the metropolis to develop there. Africa's resources. While this place was neglected. So, to perpetuate it, they just drew artificial lines. How do people meet to determine how they can draw lines to divide people who already existed as independent entities within their enclaves? And like Kwame pointed out, you get a boundary drawn in the middle of a compound. That is a border. The border of a country in the middle of a compound. So your wife will be in Togo and you are in Ghana. How more bizarre can this become? So I remember in the course of a parliamentary debate, when the Boundaries Commission came to ask for some support, I got up there and opposed, and people were shocked. I said, When we should be doing away with these boundaries, we are reinforcing them. We should be breaking away from these boundaries and opening up Africa for the people to move, for the people to unite, for the people to integrate. The answer does not lie in keeping that you are safe under an imaginary borderline. No African is safe. So if our leaders continue to wallow in that deception, that they must work to protect their borders from their fellow brother Africans, that is a disaster for the entire African continent. We must be breaking down these barriers and enforcing and reinforcing the need and the bid to reintegrate our people. I've said it time with that number. Bless. If Ghana is competing against even just Germany, what chance do you have? Now today Germany is so insecure that they come together with other European nations to form the EU. So look at the might, look at the market decision that they have. Look at the crowd they weld on the international scene. So Ghana goes to the conference to go and contest EU. It's not a joke. Or Nigeria, or very tiny countries in East Africa, Burundi, Rwanda, and all this. You feel just that even before the match has started, you have lost. So the only panacea, I have always said to our woes, is to ensure that we integrate. And in integration lies the way in which we can take hold of our resources. Trade among ourselves will yield us 5 times benefit more if we actually open up and properly integrate than the giveaways we do on the international scene, where we are always at the losing end of global interaction. Well, trade rules and others are crafted for the benefit of the big boys, the partner, the EU, the North American Free Trade Area, the ASEAN, and all those other things. Almost everybody is integrating except Africa. What is wrong with us? That our leaders can just be content with holding power in their small countries, and they think that that is the end. So I think that the pressure must build from the ground, like Osajefu tried to do, and which PLO Lumumba has also taken up, to drum home the message for the African people to rise from their slumber. It is when our people begin to rise and demand and make that move for the integration of the African continent, leading to the consummation of the great ideal of the United States of Africa. That for me was the key. But after this Trump, what do you call it, meeting with His Excellency the President of the Republic of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa. You see, they say if a dog will not bite you, it will not show you its teeth. So the moment a dog snarls at you and starts showing you its teeth, it has intention to bite you. And that's why many people thought that even that meeting, he shouldn't have even attended that meeting. I have seen Julius Malema and some other progressive African patriots lampoon the president that he shouldn't have attended it. Of course, as a president, if there are very strained relations with powerful nations, you want to work to ensure that you will improve the thing and improve the fortunes of South Africa. So I would not for a moment try to blame President Ramaphosa for doing that, because maybe he had in mind to go and see how he could mend fences and get the interests of South Africa protected in the realm of the deals with the world superpower. But everybody knows some of the pronouncement that can come from President Trump. And in that particular thing, I found out to be, sorry to speak, racist. If anybody has a sense of history of what happened to Africans, black people in South Africa under the obnoxious evil apartheid system, you will not for once attempt to make that statement. So for anybody to suggest that there was some genocide against white people in South Africa. It's incredible. Knowing what black people suffered under apartheid for decades. When the first settlers from the boys and others were coming from Europe and others to settle in South Africa, did they bring land? Kwame?
No.
Did they bring land when they were coming? And did they not come to meet people on their land? And today, who has the land? The small, tiny minority of white people have more than 60% of the best land in South Africa. Even after the dismantling of the nauseous apartheid system, the status quo has barely changed. Indeed, there are many people who fought Mandela. Mandela is a global icon. But many people, even in South Africa, fought Mandela that he left the status quo intact. Very little change for the lives of the black people. To the point that the main means for the mainstay of the economy and the people is still in the hands of the white people. Notwithstanding the fact that they think that the country is now liberated from the stranglehold of apartheid. Very little has changed. And so, you see a similar scenario in Zimbabwe, where Mugabe, and I salute President Mugabe for the progressive policies that he initiated. And that is why you saw the West bastardizing Mugabe. Because he saw that, look, the main means of livelihood, principally land, was still in the hands of the white minority. And no democracy should superintend a situation where that blatant, palpable injustice remains. You can endure. At a certain point in time, if you are not, don't manage it very well, it will explode. So that is why Mugabe first tried to reach out to the white people. Look, the reality is that you are controlling land in a situation where our people are landless. Is it possible for us to use very civil means and others to do some redistribution? And so they had the Lancaster Agreement, where even the British government had agreed to fund part of that land reform. And later on they developed cold feet and walked away. And that is how come Mugabe had to take this issue of land forcibly from some whites to redistribute. That scenario is fast developing in South Africa. And I would wish that it is dealt with in a more democratic and civil manner, that it doesn't erupt into some kind of land seizures like you had in Zimbabwe and other places. So for somebody to suggest that there was rather injustice meted to white people instead of black people is to walk logic on his head. Bless, we walk with our feet, not so. If you see somebody walking on his head, it's a serious abnormality. And so for I was not surprised that this would come from President Trump. You see those kinds of things to appease his base. But I think that for us in Africa, it tells us a big story that our own salvation and our own destiny lies in our hands. Like the legendary Oshaji said, that today there's a new African who is capable of managing his own affairs. And that the destiny of the African continent is in the hands of Africans, not external parties. So, my brother, we talk, but very little action. Not too long ago, we celebrated over 50 years of ECOWAS, not so. Look at the very elementary, the very fundamental basis of integration, free movement of people, goods and services. Where has it gone? You just take, even you yourself, bless, you want to go to even Togo and come back. Sometimes they will even say that if you don't put something in your passport, you will be frustrated even for moving, let alone bringing goods and services from one ECOWAS country to another. The sad story of what is happening in Africa. So we must dismantle these colonial barriers and integrate our people. That for me is the surest panacea. Bless, the panacea for killing your hunger is not to hold physics in your stomach. It's to go look for food to eat. That is what we are doing with the retention of these colonially crafted boundaries that we have, that continue to divide our people. Open the borders. Let the people move. Let the people integrate. Let the people do business across the entire length and breadth of the African continent. And you see the wonders that Africa's resources will do, and get very patriotic, well-meaning leaders. Not leaders who are just content with coming to power and making wealth aggrandizement, grabbing wealth left, right, and center. Taking the opportunity to name things after their relatives and their uncles and their friends and everybody, just for the sake of having some grandeur name to themselves, and not committed to the benefit of the interests of the people of the continent and of course their own people. That is the answer. So bless. I think there must be an African revolution. Kwame was saying that maybe that is not possible. We may have it in our lifetime. It is possible. At least for once, let me borrow the MPP slogan in the 2024 election. It is possible that this can be done in our lifetime if we have a rising level of consciousness of our people. That mentality that is the white man who harbors or has the panacea to our woes is one of the most dangerous ideas that we have. We need to purge ourselves and purge our people of that backward mentality. Even the great books, the Bible and the Holy Quran, say that as a man thinketh, so is he. If you think inferior, you can never act superior. If you think that your destiny is in the hands of somebody, and it is only that person who will voluntarily and willingly liberate you. No slave owner has willfully and voluntarily liberated a slave. It has to take a product of struggle, of fierce resistance mounted to change the status quo. Right. So I think that there must be an African revolution done by the African people across the length and breadth in every country. We should stand up and demand that we want and we are going to work for the unity of the continent and the control, above all, of our resources. Otherwise, bless, the more we sit back and look at this, the more they take our resources away. And let's not lose sight of the fact that the West, and in particular some of these developed countries in the North, will want to keep the status quo on so that they can continue to benefit from our resources. But they know that the day the giant Africa wakes up and moves to take control of its resources, that is the end of some of the riches that they make at our expense. Because the more rich they become, the poorer we are. And they are feasting on the resources of Africa. And I think that it's time for us to mount that African revolution. You need a lot of time to deal with these issues. Unfortunately, I'm at the risk of sounding talkative. I want to stop here and allow us to continue with that.
All right. Thank you very much. We have other topics. Already, we spent like an hour on this particular issue, and so I'd want us to proceed. And I'll start straight with you, Dr. Sylvie, on this particular matter. But briefly, if we can all share our thoughts on the Vice President's return. I think it's something that we are all happy about. She was away for about a couple of months to seek medical, treatment, and she's back. And it appears everybody is excited about it, except that I've seen, I don't know if you have seen it too, Kwame. There's a post by Vincent Assefuwa, the old Tafo member of Parliament. He has been trying to detail the Vice President's travel back to Ghana and the fact that she was for the private jet and the cost of the private, the expenses and those monies could have, could have done. But briefly, Dr. Sylvie on this.
Okay, so good morning, Bless. Good morning, my big brother, KOD. Anytime I see the gray hair coming here, then I begin to panic because I know that my own is also going to be there. but it actually makes you look very, very handsome. I have to tell my sister to actually impugn on you to always shave your hand and keep it clean like that. And then also my senior Honorable A.B. Fuseni. It's always a delight listening to the great brain that he actually possesses. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So, Bless, I want to take this opportunity. In fact, yesterday I was highly, highly delighted when I saw the beautiful, intelligent, the first female vice president Ghana has ever produced, and how fit, you know, she was as I saw her on the screens. So I actually, in my heart, went on my knees and then said a word of prayer in praises to the Lord that the naysayers and their expectations have been disappointed. So we thank God. The way she was even speaking tells you that she is now very strong and fit. And I also want to thank, you know, President Mahama for the swift nature or the swift move that she made when the doctors advised that she ought to take a sick leave and then go and check her health and all of that. So I would like to thank God for that. But you see, before I land, just as you said briefly, the MPP, you know, I keep seeing that for the past 5 months have been digging the soil to look for something to equalize most of the atrocities that they committed. Even if a chartered flight was used for the vice president to come, it's not a habitual thing. Will it be economically wise to move the presidential jet on empty to go and then bring her the in and out instead of just paying for few hours for her to be dropped on our soil? So I think there are people who find themselves in the Parliament House. I feel like if we were to vet candidates and we were to look at the track records and then psychologically investigate the mind and the brain in the heads of people, a lot of people, they wouldn't even qualify to be there. So I will not say much. I will look at the positive aspect of it. Welcome home, mommy. Thank you.
Kwame?
Okay. What can I say? I mean, all of us are very, 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 very excited to see the arrival and the return of the first female vice president of the Republic of Ghana. I am extremely elated for varied reasons. Because if you recall, when our mommy suddenly took ill, the kinds of unpleasant, unprintable things that we saw on social media, particularly from the MPP, the kind of negative wishes they had, the kind of unpalatable statements they made, and the smear attacks they made directed at specific individuals at the presidency. I'm being extremely restrained in using some adjectives in describing how low some members of the MPP went in relation to the health status of Her Excellency Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman. I received a lot of calls as though I were working with the vice president. You know, people who were calling to find out the status, how she was doing. They were praying for her, including some MPP members. Very forward-thinking, forward-looking MPP members called. Say, oh, how's her mommy doing? She okay? When she be back? We hope she's okay. You know, we are praying for her. You know, and then you have political tomfooleries who are so partisan to the point where matters of health will be politicized. Matters of health.
They themselves are being sick.
Health.
Most of them are sick.
Were we not in this country when Ken Ofori-Atta went to the UK to go and conduct I'm told, drain his blood and his blood replaced with a new one. We were not in this country when that was. Did we complain? It's health. Nobody yare, then I'll be, oh yare. And anybody can get sick. Anybody can die. But so what makes our mother's case different? Is it because she's not MPP? Is it because she's a woman? Let me say this. What is it? What at all, what crime did she commit for falling ill? It's, I don't know, Honorable, you need to educate me. Is falling sick a crime? When you fall sick, is that a crime?
Not at all.
I don't understand. And these people who are on social media writing all these nonsense are not even close to 40. They are not even 40 years. And they have parents too. So you wonder how they were brought up in their homes. Because you see, Honorable, I grew up with my father. And I grew up in the village. And I do recall, even till today, how we were expected as young people to respect the elderly in society. Irrespective of whatever it is. And how when we were growing up, everybody's father was your father. Everybody's mother was your mother. And how even when you are seated and an elderly person walks into the room, you needed to get up for that person to sit. Why? Because there was sanity. Because when someone ages, the presumption is that they've lived through life. They have experiences that we ought to tap into. They have serious fountains of knowledge that we have to drink from. So we idolized old age. We respected old age. We revered old age. Today, because of politics, someone thinks that they have the liberty to make nonsense of a situation that all of us do not have control over. To go on a bastardization spree, to disrespect the office of Madam Nana Jane. People who are not even close to her grandchildren, close in terms of pedigree. They will come and sit on social media and spew all manner of garbage in the name of partisan politics. So we have to deal with all of that. MPP, some people in MPP. We have to deal with all of that. Dr. Bawumia in the early days of MPP's administration also fell ill and went to the UK with his wife, Samuel Bawumia, in the company of Gabi. There were pictures. Nobody made a fuss about this because we can all fall ill. So I am shocked. In fact, I was shocked and I'm still shocked now that we even had to start that conversation. And the platforms that even allowed their mediums or media to be used in discussing the health status of our mother was pitiful. Now, let me leave all of these people because you see, I have not had the occasion to respond to some of these things. It's quite heartbreaking, you know, and very insensitive on the part, particularly on young people. Why, as a young person practicing politics, would you want to endanger your own health by criticizing or questioning the health status of another? Because you are cursing yourself. You are cursing yourself. It's actually a curse. It is. We think that those things do not exist because of social media. So now, because of social media, people get up, they go on Twitter, they go and write all manner of garbage, and they think that nothing can, can happen to them. Nothing will happen to them. So, after all the hula baloo, after all the noise making, after all the rival thinking, our mother is back home. And to be fair, I saw the status of Amma, and that is when because I was in a meeting somewhere, and that's when I got to know that she had returned. And I was filled with exhilaration. I was elated. I was excited. I was just smiling. I was just in my heart. I was relieved. I was like, thank you, God, for bringing our mother home safely and soundly and healthy. Because what would the people have said? What would the naysayers already? They had started some rumor mongering. You remember they had posted on Facebook, Prof is dead, all of those nonsense. Accusing people falsely. You recall, there was an instance where they said Julius Debra had poisoned Professor Nana Jane. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that? She's back, healthy, hale, hearty. She's coming to continue with the good work that they started, or that they've started, to which we are seeing results. And look, let me, without any hesitation, commend the President of the Republic of Ghana and how he's able to generate humor out of a serious situation. Yesterday felt like a son welcoming home a mother and reporting to the mother the things that in her absence he experienced. It was so beautiful to watch. So beautiful to watch. So beautiful to watch. When I was watching, I said, oh.
He had missed it, particularly because they tried impeaching.
That is the point. From going to Togo. And I felt the connection. Yeah. Now, let me tell you something, a secret. Prof. Nana Jane lives, breathes, dreams John Dramani Mahama. All she cares about is to support the president. Simplicity. All Her Excellency Nana Jane cares about is how His Excellency John Dramani Mahama will succeed. That's all she cares about. So I was happy that the love that she has for His Excellency was well represented in reciprocation. I was excited. Now let's come to the propaganda that the MPP has been fueling, or some people in the MPP have been fueling, that she flew in with a private jet. So I wonder if they wanted her to fly in with STC. I wonder if they wanted the vice president to return home to us with an OA bus. I wonder if they wanted Professor Nana Jane to come home with a Sprinter bus. She's a vice president, for crying out loud. But you in government, you had people who were flying from Ghana to go and watch Arsenal and Manchester play one weekend. They will fly in, fly out. Those people, they are more human than the vice president of the Republic of Ghana. You have people who flew out to go and buy pizza. And come back and fly in the same day. Pizza. They will charter a plane, fly out to go and buy pizza, and then they will come back to Ghana. So those people, they are more human than the vice president of the Republic. Ghana, the vice president of the Republic of this country. Should have come in trotro bus. What is this? In any event, what is the evidence that she even paid or government spent on? Ibrahim Mahama has a private jet. And in her appreciation, she singled out Mr. Ibrahim Mahama and appreciated him for the very many things he did when she was admitted in the UK. That even Ibrahim Mahama flew to the United Kingdom to go and sit beside her, and in her own words, that in itself was healing. Was therapy, was healing in her own words. So what makes you think that the same Ibrahim Mahama would not stop at anything to give a private jet that will bring the vice president to the country? I mean, what kind of logic is that? No, bless, I'm coming, please. The other matters I can, reduce the time. I can speak for 2 minutes, no problem. But this one, it is dear to me.
Yeah, I can see that.
You get the point?
Yeah.
So the lack of intelligence, the inability of these MPP people, some MPP people who are in such haste to become popular, is what baffles me. That because of that, they don't even pack their conscience behind the words they speak. They lack morals. They lack ethics. Some of these people were not brought up in homes. At best, they were brought up in bushes. Because the way they speak, the vitriol that comes out of their mouth can only come out from the mouth of people who are not raised by human beings. So now Madame is back. So she didn't die again. So now let's cook another story. And then you say that she flew in with a private jet, costing the state so much. You had a president who was bathing. The president of the Akufo-Addo, at every travel, he went with a private jet. Whether private, whether public occasions, he went with a private jet funded by the state. Funded by the state. Private occasions, he flew out with a private jet funded by the state. All of these things were shrouded in secrecy until Okudzeto Ablakwa unveiled the situation, and we got to know how much we were paying. Bathing in the sky, it became a big issue. This one, somebody was sick. Let's even assume, without admitting, that she flew in with a private jet funded by the state. Let's even assume, without admitting, that is the case. Okay, she was unhealthy. She's now healthy. They are bringing her back. She didn't want to buy pizza, as Akufo-Addo them used to do. She didn't go to buy to watch Arsenal match. Or was it Arsenal or Tottenham? Akufo-Addo's team was Tottenham Hotspur.
Yeah, Tottenham.
She didn't fly out to go and watch Tottenham Hotspur and the state paying for it. She was returning home. So what is the sense in raising questions about the flight that she used in coming to the country? Let me sound this caution to all of us, including myself, that the mere fact that we've been presented with an opportunity of the microphone does not mean that we should spew garbage at every opportunity. We have a responsibility to ourselves as Ghanaians. We have a responsibility to our children. We have a responsibility to generations yet unborn. We have a responsibility to our family to always, at all material times, speak the truth at all material times, make logical analysis, make narratives which will not, in the final analysis, create the impression that you were raised by animals and not human beings. Let's not do that. If we don't care about our family members, at least we should care about ourselves, our future, and our children. Because if your child grew up and came and read that you, a father, had said these unthinkable things about a sitting vice president of the Republic of Ghana, you would have yourself to blame. So please, Madam Vice, I akwaba, waba tenase. Now, I will say a pair of Benquine, Nunu, is it Nunu? You know, and Kwansusa, you know, we'll prepare some for you. You drink it beautifully, and then you continue with the good work that you have started.
Right.
We wish you all the best. We'll continue to pray for you. The enemies are a lot, but inshallah, you will defeat. In fact, you have defeated them. You will continue to defeat them. But we are with you. We'll pray for you and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Right. Alaji.
Yeah, thank you very much. Bless, the issue of health is the prerogative of Allah Almighty. And so our people say that even if you are as tall as an Iroko tree, you can't see tomorrow. And you are completely bereft of knowledge to understand what can happen to you even in the next minute.
Yeah.
So let nobody gloat. When you think that you are even healthy today, bless, we have heard of very dramatic stories of people saying that, this man, he was very strong. We were with him just a few hours ago. And in the next hour or two, they pronounce that he's dead. That is the attribute of Allah Almighty. You have had situations where somebody goes to look after a patient who is sick. Then the person who went to look after the patient dies and leaves the patient, and the patient recovers and comes to the funeral of the person who was supposedly healthy and being the caretaker. So I've always said that, look, let people not play games with the health of people. I am so elated that the Her Excellency the Vice President is back. I remember the went round allegedly perpetrated in MPP circles, and let me say that I don't believe that is every MPP member who engages in this, sorry to say, nonsensical acts. They are very well-meaning, well-seasoned, well-crafted, well-grown-up people in the MPP who sympathize with Her Excellency the Vice President when she took ill and sent some goodwill recovery messages. But the fringe elements, and I'm surprised by a good friend in Parliament. When he came, he was a very nice young man, came to speak to some of us and to find a way of picking up some distance, become an effective member of Parliament. I'm sure he must be eyeing some position or eyeing some prominence, and that's why he's at the forefront of it. But I'm saying that he should be very careful about some of the pronouncements in order to ingratiate himself to the grassroots of the MPP. Bless, when you are hungry, you don't jump into the cooking pot. It's important you take your time, let the food cook for you to eat, that you bend yourself out. I'm sure there is jumping into issues, some of which, instead of even ignoring to him as a credit, is rather painting him in negative colors. So I'm sure he should tread cautiously. Because, bless, you see, it is only a man who is bereft of achievements who beats his chest in triumph to proclaim his achievements. If you have really worked, like PLO Lumumba said, you don't need to talk hard to be able to get through these kinds of matters. And Kwame mentioned some of the things. Today, you see, it's because the MPP coming out of this election has been so badly humiliated that it's difficult to come to terms. A lot of them are still in the arena of disbelief. They still cannot come to terms with the fact that they have been so badly beaten and humiliated in the last election. So some of them are still stupefied in that disbelief. And they are in terrible slumber to accept the current realities of today, that President John Dramani Mahama and Professor Nana Jane Opoku are in charge. It's very difficult to come to terms with that for some of them. But they should be guarded in the very profound wisdom that if somebody passes bad air on you and you are overzealous to retaliate, you bring the real thing out. Because with these kinds of remarks, they are soiling themselves and looking so terrible that at a time they should be eating humble pie, showing some bit of humility and being remorseful and letting the people see that, oh, these people, they have the capacity to build a new positive image. They are making matters worse by indulging in things like this. So through the indulgence of things like this, they are making any scintilla of a comeback almost impossible. Every day they are eroding the basis for even making a comeback with things like this. Because Ghanaians will not tolerate people who even cannot show sympathy to somebody, and not just somebody, the number 2 person in this country. Even when Dr. Bawumia took in, like Kwame pointed out, many well-meaning people sent goodwill messages because he was the vice president of the republic. And any pronouncement that is commonsensical will take due cognizance of the import of his health on the country. And so you see that when they fail to get the thing to stick, there were death pronouncements all over. They pronounced her dead on many occasions. And like the proverb speaks, she rose up every other time they made that pronouncement. And so Allah Almighty, I want to thank Almighty Allah for restoring her to health and bringing her to make the requisite contribution for this country. Look, after the private jet thing they are talking about and throwing out figures about this, you made a brilliant point. You even calculate. Let us assume, because I am hearing even the fitness of the private jet, flying it to that destination and coming back, what is the total cost? Yeah. Than to get a decent at the destination and bring her straight. So even if you are even going to compute cost, it will be even more cost effective to get an aircraft at the destination that can bring her one way than to fly all the way to there and fly back. Economically, it doesn't make sense. But today, my former colleague Asafwa, he was in this country, isn't it? When Nana Akufo-Addo, in fact, in the request submitted by Honorable Okuyeto for the Minister of Defense to come to Parliament to answer questions about the frequent private jet travels of President Nana Akufo-Addo, including to go and watch football match, Tottenham Hotspur versus Arsenal, or which match was that? He flew private jet to go and watch that match. Football match. What can be more bizarre and cost ineffective to the taxpayer? And when Nituwu came to provide it, he said the private jet was meant for the president to be able to bath in the air and refresh. So all those trips and escapades with Sewa Bruni and other people's at the expense to the taxpayer, he didn't see anything, because not a single comment emerged from the MPP on the excessive, extravagant lifestyle that Nana Akufo-Addo, our former president, exhibited when we went on a private jet hiring spree to do that. They never found anything wrong with it. They never spoke a word about it. So if it was good for Nana Akufo-Addo in a situation of a medical emergency, it is not good for the Vice President of the Republic, just for one moment, on a medical health related issue, So you see how bizarre the NPP can become. So they have always underestimated the intelligence of a Ghanaian, and it's good. They should continue on that trajectory. To think that Ghanaians, in the run-up to the election, you know, they thought, Ghanaians could easily be hoodwinked by their mischief propaganda and insensitive sentiments. But Ghanaians are very, very well discerning, very intelligent, very well-meaning people. And they will take the right decision when it comes. And I'm sure they have seen it in the works. The most humiliating defeat under the aegis of the Fourth Republic. Right. So, the whole country is thankful to the Almighty Allah for bringing back our mother, bringing her back to good health, and we wish and pray that she will assume office and champion the role that she has always done for women and children, right. The vulnerable, the disadvantaged, the oppressed in our society. And I believe that in the course of the campaign, she exhibited this very well. I pray that Almighty Allah continue to imbue her with the requisite health so that she can return to office and work for the people that she has always loved and cherished.
All right, thank you very much. I'll do some messages. McDo says NPP people are more Ghanaian than any other person. They have the right to own and do whatever they wish, but others no. Kufado was flying a private jet and also seeking medical care outside the country at the expense of the state when he was the president, and they never saw anything wrong with it. But because of hypocrisy, they are now talking. McDo from Alajo. Thank you, Mark. William Monday Jikuno says, good morning, bless. KOD has done justice to the vice president topic. Those who wish for a vice president death will be buried, and Togigen's name, may God bless her. Fatai Gomda Yahuza says, good morning, bless. After listening to KOD, I can't help but agree with him. I'm of the view that parenting has gone from child upbringing to zookeeping. How do you easily disrespect the elderly, much more someone of such standing, and pronouncing her dead when she isn't? Gosh. Mike Yawan Profo says the plane is for Mr. Ibrahim Mahama. Well, I don't know about that. Saeed Kucho says, good morning, comrades. Please, the social media thing now is almost for those who grew up from irresponsible homes with no elders. If you're talking about elderly people, not a grown-up person, but a thinkable person, the NPP are the problem since time immemorial. All right, thank you very much, Said. So far, Nsako says, thank you, KOD. Kaidebi Steve says, Happy Idami has been hauled to the legal counsel for his misconduct in the Japa case. As for Tokono, she should know that the law is the law, as she said, and will follow it for to the latter. Okay. Charles Thompson says, it's a shame politicians have polarized politics in Ghana. People should focus their attention on national development. Okay, thank you. Mano James says, if I were the South African president, I would have walked out of the meeting. On to some more messages on WhatsApp. This one here says, good morning, bless. We the youth of Ghana are happy to have a mother back. I personally would have contributed to bring her back in a chartered cargo plane if I was called to intervene. The most important thing is seeing her in good health. We thank Allah endlessly for his swift mercy. As for the NPP, the least said about them, the better. They still can't appreciate the huge defeat they suffered in the last elections. Will ensure they never come close to power ever, because we've seen them for who they are. Kindly ask Lawyer KOD to kindly give me his contact. Razak Sehini Zambanga, CAC Branch Communications Officer at Sharman Constituency. All right, thank you. The disgruntled and disgraceful NPP members who deliberate and viciously attempt to play prank against the person of the Vice President Nana Jinopoko-Adjumani health is very ridiculous and reprehensible. This group of people are just uttering absolute balderdash and then embellish it with fatuous, partisan and mischievous falsehood to be relevant in our political space. Instead of focusing on rebuilding their sinking party, they are rather focusing on trivial stuff that won't help them redeem the image of their party. They should continue this kind of attitude and they'll be in opposition for 38 years to come. Ernest Everlaf Kwashi from Dansuman sent this one. Thank you, Ernest. Good morning, bless. In fact, the NPP people are the Okay, if Ekufuado, who I don't want to use some words here, could use private jet, is he better than our vice president? Who? Okay, all right, okay. Thank you very much. Some of you, the things you people write, I can't read on air. I'm sorry. Akunsi Gareba from Tamale says, "Good morning, Pan African TV. It's absolutely wrong to make politics with anyone's sickness, but Kwame is not being honest for saying that when Dr. Bawumia was sick, the NDC party didn't make noise of his sickness. Kwame should go back and watch the children with sharp teeth to hear what they said about the health of Nanado and Dr. Bawumia. We welcome the Vice President, Professor Nana Jinopoko Ajiman, back to the country." Akonsiga Gareba sends this one. Good morning, Bless, and your panel, especially Alaji Ebe Fuseni. We, the NDC, are so much elated to have our mother back, the Vice President and head of our economic management team, into this country to assume her rightful position and to keep the good work on the CD dollar. In her absence, CD is 11. Now in her presence, CD might even fall to 5. Suglo K. Ibrahim sends this one, right? I'll do this final one. Please, okay, all right. Okay. All right. Musa Batra says, it's quite telling that in a country with over 5,000 qualified lawyers, the suspended Chief Justice has chosen Godfrey Dame, who has himself been embroiled in controversy, including being caught on tape, allegedly attempting to compromise key witnesses. Isn't that curious? This choice alone raises serious questions about the integrity of the defense and the entire process. Some of the reliefs being sought in the petition appear to be legal gymnastics designed to stall and derail the course of justice. All right, we have some 27 minutes more. Let me also say that there's scores of you watching us on YouTube, several views on YouTube. Mensa Nanomano, Abena, See the Light, Atram Nitete, Rockwell. All of you are doing the watching on YouTube. Thank you so much for your time. But let's proceed to other conversations. Let's talk about the CD, which is making a lot of gains, and there's been this hullabaloo about what exactly is contributing to, you know, the city's surge or the city's rise against particularly the dollar. The opposition, the New Patriotic Party, there's a lot of narratives that there are lots of narratives that they are putting out there relative to this conversation. According to them, the gold for oil policy is to take the credit for the city's rise. I've also heard that they are saying that this rise we are seeing is temporary, and this came from Miracles Abwaji. He said it is artificial and that the city will fall back. So I don't know exactly what their position is on this matter, but Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has said that the NDC has initiated no policy at all to see this improvement, and that the gold for oil policy, which he championed, is what we are seeing now as benefiting the city. Dr. Sylvie.
Thank you once again, Bless. It's unfortunate we are left with just 27 minutes or few minutes to do this one. I wish we had a lot of time, but I will try my best to touch base on a few things so that other panelists can also have a say. You see, first of all, welcome back Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia into the circles of economic analysis, because for the past few years he actually ran away from economic discussions to digitalization. But Bless, one of the most dangerous people, or one group of the most dangerous groups of people in this country, are those of us who claim we hold PhD. We are the most dangerous people because you see of the kind of credentials that we carry and the authority people perceive that we have on certain subject matter. When we decide to be dishonest, it's very, very dangerous. And so I always, anytime I get the opportunity, I tell people that whenever you meet a PhD holder on a panel, put aside the PhD and then go more deeper to have an intuition of the discussion or the submission that the person is making. First of all, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia deviled himself in some sort of confusion. On one breath, he is saying that the bad performance of the USD globally that is what is causing the CD to actually appreciate against the dollar. And then on another breath, he said it is his good for oil policy. So which one do we have to take? This is a pick and choose. This is one of the pick and choose economic analysis he was doing prior to their assumption of office. Then later, he had to, his own assertion, if the fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. Then he ran away from economic analysis into digitalization. You see, the goal for oil that he was even alluding to is just one of the interventions that the gold board that has been instituted by this government is actually executing or providing. But you see, what is a policy? Bless. He is making the point that since this government came into office, there has not been any single policy, isn't it? Permit me to just read, just for purposes of my submission, the meaning of a policy. Bless. And I quote here, in economics, governance or management, a policy refers to a deliberate system of principles, rules or guidelines adopted by a government, institution, organization or an individual to influence and determine decisions and achieve a specific outcome. So I'm going to outline some of the policies this government has actually implemented, if they care to know. A policy is not just a one-time action. It is a consistent course of action or position designed to address an issue or achieve a goal. And there are different types of policy. Let me just take this opportunity to bring the attention to some of the policies this government has actually put in place. From the fiscal side, the agenda to rationalize expenditure is a policy initiative. The agenda by the finance minister. Before I go to the monetary aspect, the agenda by the finance minister to pursue expenditure rationalization is in itself a policy based on the definition that I read. Number 2, revenue mobilization, an agenda to pursue rigorous revenue mobilization by enhancing tax compliance. In itself is a policy. Number 3, the agenda to implement efficient public financial management practices in itself is a policy. The agenda to pursue strict debt sustainability management. You remember the reduction in the treasury bills. It's not a policy direction that brought us that sort of outcome. And then if you come to the monetary aspect of it, when Dr. Siama was also appointed and sworn in, Kwame, you were here, you were hosting us 6 pillars that he put in place that he was going to pursue. Okay? Where he talks about the use of AI and all of that. But the key thing I took from it was that he was going to actually embark on inflation targeting and then currency stabilization, isn't it? And then look at the recent, when there was oversubscription of the treasury, of the issuance of treasury bill, and then the government refused to take the oversubscription. It left a lot of liquidity in the hands of the banks and the private investors. What did the Bank of Ghana governor do? Or what did the Bank of Ghana do? They came in with what is called a sterilization program to absorb or neutralize the excess liquidity in the system, such that the inflation that we are enjoying, the downward trend of the inflation that we are enjoying will actually be pursued. So these are some of the policies that has actually been implemented. The institution or the institutionalization of the gold board itself, of which gold for oil is just one of the interventions that we are enjoying, in itself is a policy. So I don't see where, I don't know who is advising Dr. Baumi. I don't know the kind of data that he had or he was having in his possession that made him made such assertions. So within 5 months, I still insist that this government is doing something right. Number 2, look, the last one. In terms of policy, MPP, even the buffer stock company, Honorable, Were they not importing rice and things to stock the place? When local rice producers have stock of rice in their, in their barns, and then the government refused to buy from them and was rather importing. When President Mahama assumed office, the first declaration he made was that there shouldn't be any importation of foreign rice. They should buy from the local rice. That instilled confidence in the system. And so the pressure on the city, the pressure that ought to have been on the cedi, because the importers would have changed cedi into dollar just so they could import, actually went down. That in itself brought confidence in the system. That is the policy kind of agenda that has been pursued. So you could see that now the excess demand of forex has reduced. Now we have excess supply, and that is what is causing the cedi to actually appreciate. We need to give honor and praise where it is due, and forget about this jealousy and all of that. Look, Dr. Bamia is saying that, you see, it is even wrong for us to always link the appreciation of the cedi to only dollar. He swiftly or he intelligently dodged the fact that the pounds, the euros, are also performing badly against the cedi. Is it also about the China-US trade war? Look, the last time I was here, I told you that, look, I have followed the finance minister who is managing the fiscal aspect of the economy, and then Dr. Esiama, who is managing the monetary aspect of the economy. They are coordinating. The coordination between them is what is doing the game. Look, the debt sustainability management being pursued by this government has instilled investor confidence into the country, such that the inflows of forex into the economy is monumental, and no one can challenge that. What did NPP do? And you see, before I land, just one point. This wrong assertion that the NPP is the better, they are the better managers of the economy, we need to stop it. It's a wrong assertion, and I can give you historical economic analysis of that, but because I don't have time, let me mention few. In the days of President Kufuor, when people said that President Kufuor's time the economy was bad, the economy was better, look, it is a lie. After they spoiled the economy, brought it to Italy such that the country's currency was valueless, the smart move they did was to do what is called currency redenomination. When you do redenomination, what do? You only change the nominal value of the currency without touching the real purchasing power of the currency. So remember, when they did that, $1 to 1 cedi, within a few months, what happened? We were in this country. What happened? After President Kufuor, when Professor Mills took over, what happened to our inflation and then our currency? At that time, in the days of Professor Mills, before his demise, Ghana was rated as one of the fastest growing economy in the world. Honorable, you were in parliament at that time. Tell me if I'm lying. Kwame, you started social communication way before I joined. You can also tell me if I'm lying. You understand? Now, when President Mahama took over, we were all crying. Dumso, the economy was this, what have you. He left a cedi, 3.8 cedi to $1. The so-called economic wastegate, who is now talking today, alluding, I have challenged him what a policy is. Sometimes it hurts me when the NDC communicators are not able to outline some of these things whenever they get the opportunity to communicate to the people. What is a policy? When they took over, $3.8, fuel was 4 cedis, 50 pesos. Some places like Shell and Co, 4 cedis, 70 pesos at that time. As at the time they were leaving office, with all their policies, one village, one dam, one district, one factory, which never had any policy document. The gold for oil that they did, how come with all these policies, we ended up at IMF, we ended up, taking monies due to the pensioners, the so-called DDEP, and all of that? How come at that time the cedi, with the so-called gold for oil, how come the cedi was still depreciating? And how come oil prices were going up? It's unfortunate I don't have time, but maybe later on there will be another opportunity. But you see, in some, let us not allow, Dr. Baumia and MPP should be aware that Ghanaians are enlightened though. Today, AI has come. Anybody can query. Google is there. Everybody can query to know the economic fact behind the scene. Something right is being done. And the CD appreciation is not external.
Right. Thank you very much, Dr. Esiofi. Honorable, let's hear from you.
Bless. I've said it many times with that number. That somebody you know in the daytime, you don't light a torch to identify him in the night. A person who is dead in the market, there's no advertisement of his funeral again. Dr. Baumia, when he greets you good morning, look at the position of the sun before you respond. We said all this. This is a man who said everything and anything in opposition to get power. And I endorse what he said, that when they tout somebody's economic or so-called professional credentials, put it away and examine the person for who he is. Was Dr. Baumia not touted as the economic wizkid? And was that not what Nana Akufo-Addo told Ghanaians? That he was bringing in Dr. Baumia because of his superior economic management prowess to turn the economy around. Was that not the case? What was the verdict? So when you were saying that Ghanaians should watch it, Ghanaians have already passed the verdict on the MPP and Dr. Baumia. But the massive defeat, because it was not Nolan Akufo-Addo existed. Baumia was now on the candidate of the MPP. Is that not the case? On whom was the verdict passed? Him. So Ghanaians spoke loudly and clearly that Dr. Baumia was not worthy of the presidency. In massive numbers, unprecedented in the annals of our fourth Republican history. So when did he cross his way back to economic management issues? Was he not the one who ran away, fled during the campaign from economy to digitalization, as you pointed out? So what has changed? He has suddenly resurrected, metamorphosed again into an economic prophet, predicting where there is progress, doom, and where there is doom, progress. So I believe that, look, Ghanaians are wiser for it. Bless, the sweetness of the pudding is not the aroma. It's in the eating. Gold board was implemented for how many years under the MPP?
Gold board?
Gold for oil. Sorry. More than 2 years. Under the aegis of Dr. Baumia. So if the gold for oil could propel this kind of thing, how come under them inflation continued to shoot up? The exchange rate depreciated at a faster rate to the point that Ghana cedi was attained the dubious distinction as the worst performing currency in the world, not Africa, not West Africa, not Africa, the worst performing currency in the world. So the gold for oil is starting, as I said, it was under his watch. How come the currency fell to an all-time low? It was even getting to 17 Ghana cedis. It went past the historic 16, getting to 17. Under Dr. Baumia, it's the same gold for oil. So if the gold for oil could do that magic, how come it didn't do that magic under his watch? When you have spent so much to marry a beautiful woman, Kwame, after the wedding you bring her to the house, now you should consummate the marriage. You spend the whole night killing mosquitoes and say that the mosquitoes are a nuisance, you can't perform your conjugal duties. Are you worthy of being cited for places where manhood is concerned? You are not. And yes, I say without any item of that it's a conscious, deliberate decision. Why? When President Mahama came, one of the first acts of fiscal discipline was to cut down on the size of government. Is it not true?
still have 56.
When the sizes of ministries were reduced from a ministerial over-bloated extravagant government of 127 ministers, we have brought it down to so far 56. Look at the difference. That's more than half. 127 to 56. What is the difference? That's about 71 reduction. Far more than half. So when you adopt that straightforward first act of discipline, you economists have what they call shoring confidence in the economy. You have from the very outset sent a signal of financial prudence and financial discipline. And let me salute Honorable Atufosin. This young man has made fantastic history in a short time. You know that the fall in the treasury bill rates and others that came were as a result of deliberately crafted policy measures. Even for you to go for spending cuts, it tells you of the foresight that you have. Under his watch, he had indicated that there will be fiscal prudence and discipline. And it is beginning to pay off through the measures that he's adopted so far. Like I said, the 90-day treasury bill rate, all those other things have plummeted, come down. That has, to the benefits of government debt, management of our debts. He has not embarked on reckless, irresponsible borrowing like Dr. Bawumia and Nana Akufo-Addo did. And Ken Ofori-Atta borrowed because for every borrowing that he did, his companies, both enterprise insurance and what do you call it? His bank, Data Bank, benefited. And so it was a policy of reckless borrowing. Under the watch of President Mama and Atufosin, they have exhibited fiscal discipline and prudence. Bless. He talked about, look at the harmony between Governor Esiama and Atufosin. When two giants managing the economy have a synergy and work closely together, they achieve results. Under the watch of Nana Akufo-Addo, Governor Addison and Ken Ofori-Atta, there was a dissonance between them. And in any case, it resulted in catastrophic mismanagement of the central bank, to the point that not only did the central bank make losses of up to over 60.8 billion, but they printed 77 billion Ghana cedis in 2 years. 77 billion Ghana cedis, and inflation skyrocketed to 54.1%. Never in the annals of our country. You saw it. So if you have these were deliberate policies. This is what Atufosin and Dr. Esiama have jettisoned with speed, and he said instituted a disciplinary approach and a harmonious blend of working relations to ensure that the fiscal and macroeconomic sector are properly managed. Today, it is no wonder that Standard & Poor's, in just 5 months under President John Dramani, 4 months, because from January to May we have 4 months. In just 4 months under President Mama and the management of Atufosin, Ghana has been upgraded by rating agency Standard & Poor's. So we are officially out for the first time where the MPP put us junk. Under the MPP, we were rated junk in economic status. I lie. Just working for 4 months, Atufosin has gotten out of the junk status, and we are increasingly through these other issues of the dollar. You remember, the MPP in government said that it was Russia and Ukraine, and that the aftermath of the effects of COVID and others that were responsible for an ally. Today, what language is Dr. Bawumia using? Let us even assume, is it not a well-intentioned person that Allah Almighty blesses? If even the blessing of the dollar going down by itself is something, it tells you that They are well-intentioned people who are in government. The evil minds that the MPP and the Nana Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia came to pretend on, and the fact that they were completely insensitive to the plight of our good people, the Almighty Allah decided that you show them the way out because of these evil things they should pretended. But I will say without any iota of doubt that it is a product of well thought out, disciplined approach to the management of the economy that is holding this. And I want to believe that by the grace of Allah, we have not seen the best yet. This one is the scorpion. The snake is coming.
Right.
So I am very confident that the, under Atuforsin, Governor Siama, under the leadership of His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama, this economy is going to grow in leap and bounds. We have not yet even implemented the 24-hour economy. We have not even done the big push yet. We have not even done the major policy decisions where a lot of resources are going to be injected to spur the growth of the economy. This one, they haven't seen anything yet. They should wait.
Right. Thank you very much.
This one is early in the morning. I can't say it. But right. It is coming. It's deliberate policy, and I want to say kudos.
Right.
And to tell Honorable Atuforsin, Governor Siama, that they should remain focused. Right. They should not allow their attention to be distracted by this useless self-serving MPP argument. Because if the MPP, if anybody in NDC is waiting for the MPP to heap praises on them for the management of the economy, they should wait until the hyena is pleased with the dance of the goat.
Right. Thank you very much, Olaji, for saying it. Kwame, if you'd wrap up.
The hyena can never be pleased with the dance of a goat. Well, I think Dr. Sylvie and Honorable Ibi Husseini have dealt with the matter quite substantively. What I would simply add is that the performance of a country's currency is largely dependent on the performance of the economy. So if the economy is performing better, it has an effect or an impact on the other indicators which cumulatively will determine or define the performance of the economy. So you're looking at inflation, you're looking at your external debts, you're looking at your revenues and expenditure and all of that. One of the very fundamental things that we ought to look at, okay, is how the intercourse between the fiscal and monetary policies are playing out. You know that, like they said, the monetary aspect is run by the governor of the Bank of Ghana. Fiscal aspect is run by the finance minister. So there's no way for you to isolate and praise one person and leave the other out. If there's a disconnect between the consummation, if you like, between the managers of the fiscal policy and the managers of the monetary policy, it will have a devastating effect on the foundations of your currency. Now, your ability to optimize your revenue, so revenue, either revenue mobilization or optimization, okay, and that interplay between that and your expenditure management and control would give you a resulting, performance in your currency. The economist is here; he will tell you. So, I mean, it is not in doubt that something definitely is happening. Now, what defines expenditure? So there are different types of it, but two of them that we are really known, we've come to know, which invariably has, a heavy effect or impact on your currency or the economy in general, would be either you are doing capital investment, that's your expenditure is capital, or consumption, or consumption. No, consumption, not consumption, consumption, right? Now, if you invest in capital expenditure, the likelihood that the resulting effect of your capital expenditure will bring about revenue optimization is high, because then you are investing in, maybe roads, you are investing in industry, factory, you are into manufacturing, and all of that. Because once you begin to manufacture, the end result is that you would want to export them, so which reduces your importation of certain commodities. So once there is that value chain being introduced, it invariably has some effect on your economy. Now, if you look at the performance of the currency and by extension the economy under Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, you would notice that there was very little investment in capital expenditure. There was more investment in consumption. So we borrowed to come and chop. We borrow, chop. We borrow, chop. So Bless, let me give you an example. For instance, you went to the bank to go and borrow money that you want to come and invest in, let's say, poultry, right? Then you don't invest it in poultry. You go and borrow to come and give it to your wives to be cooking for you, and then doing party, e-levy party and all of that. When the time is up for you to go and pay the money back, where would you get the money from? Because you've spent it. Now, how can you pay back that loan? You have to go and borrow money from Dr. Silfi to come and now offset the debt that you owe. You get the point? So there was no frugality in the way we spent previously. Now, if you look at the trajectory, okay, His Excellency Don Romani Mahama has been very intentional about, being very frugal and measured with how we spend. So, for instance, he says that in order that we can cut down on public expenditure, I am going to reduce the number of ministers that we have, moving it from 100 and something to 56, right? That in itself, if you look at that particular space, so 56, you divide it from 100 and something, you are getting not less than 40 something ministers. And if you look at how much each...
First is 71.
71. My mathematics is really terrible, forgive me. So if you are looking at 71, right? So it means that government is not spending on 71 ministers. Now, if you look at each minister, is entitled to 2 vehicles, it's entitled to a driver, entitled to a security person, entitled to fuel, entitled to cook, entitled to
entertainment allowance,
policeman, all these things, right? When you put them all together, so monthly you are looking at not less than over 100,000 cedis per minister. No, monthly, not less than over 100,000 Ghana cedis, right? Multiply that by 71. They are in the region of what 7 million or Ghana cedis on a month on 71 ministers. So, I mean, this is me being charitable because I don't have the raw data, right? I don't have twice. Yeah, I don't have the data, so I just want to speak to what is within my reach now, which is using my own assumption. So let's even grant them that you're spending for 7 million a month monthly. Multiply that by 1 year.
7 times 12.
Do you understand? Multiply that by 4 years.
Yeah.
And the ex gratia and the other travel expenses, per diems and all of that have not come. So if we have cut down and have reduced that to 56, it is telling that obviously you would have made some savings there. All right? Now let's also look at confidence. And I know we are out of time, but I need to just, wrap it up nicely. Now, confidence in itself has the potency of strengthening your economy. So, for instance, a lot of, in 2024, I believe, foreign direct investment alone, we lost about, is it 160 million or billion dollars from foreign direct investment, because people had no confidence in our economy again. All the very basic, or rather, the low-hanging fruit that we had in terms of companies were all relocating. So you had the likes of, I think, what's the name of the company? All of them relocating to either Ivory Coast or Cosmos Energy. They all relocated. Talu decided not to invest again. So it tells you that the economy, people had very little to no confidence in the economy, largely because of how we managed the economy, mismanaged the economy. So that is one aspect of it. Now, the most important part, because you see, you can have monetary imbalances, but if you have fiscal prudence, okay, you can still survive. So now, if you just spend anyhow, you won't make money. You won't make money. You may have monetary imbalances, but if you have fiscal prudence, there will be some, you can balance it out, okay? And that's why people always attribute better performance to the finance minister as opposed to the governor of the Bank of Ghana, even though the work of the governor of the Bank of Ghana is as important as the work of the finance minister. So that's aside. Now let's look at the other things which have been done by this administration. All right. Again, sometimes we may belittle the importance of some of the very irresponsible expenses that we made, like the president flying private jets and things like that. Over the period, it will accrue. Yes, it will accumulate, and the debt accruals will be more, and that is why our external debt has ballooned. If you have your external debt ballooning, it has a direct impact on the performance of your currency, because at every material time you have to change money and go and pay.
Yeah.
Once you are changing money, the demand on the dollar goes high. If the demand goes high, it means that your currency will definitely depreciate, and that is why So that aside, let's now look at some of the interventions. I think Doc eloquently and profoundly, together with Honorable Ebi Efuseni, highlighted a number of them, and I'm just going to touch on one and conclude. Now, we cannot downplay the importance and the contributions of the Gold Board to the performance of the cedi. I have been following keenly the daily updates from the Bank of Ghana's Twitter account, updating us on even the gold coins and the performance of the gold coins within the broader framework of the performance of the economy, right? Now, the Gold Board, the first question perhaps that we must ask ourselves is, why did we introduce the Gold Board? The reason why we introduced the Gold Board, I'll explain to you in 3 minutes. In Ghana, we export 3 commodities, okay? 3 main commodities. We export gold, we export cocoa, we export oil. Now, if you look at the data from 2023 to 2024, what contributed significantly to the performance of our economy was gold. Gold actually, soared the economy or cushioned the economy. All right? And so, any reasonable, sensible government would notice that if gold was able to individually help sustain the economy, then there must be something there. Now, how do we then create a system or a platform where we would now have direct control on the production of gold and the reserves of same? So if you notice, every strong economy, every strong currency is built on reserves. Some build their some currencies are built on oil reserves. Previously, we built ours on cocoa. Others build theirs on gold. Others build theirs on tourism. Others build theirs on different commodities or different products or different outlays, right? So if now we are noticing that gold is going to give us so much, and gold can help cushion our currency, then why don't we create an entity that will ensure that we increase our gold reserves to cushion the currency? And that is precisely what has happened. You get my point? So the introduction of Gold Board cannot be deleted from the equation when we are talking about the performance of the cedi. We cannot delete the Gold Board and its performance. It is very, very important. And here, I'd like to single out Mr. Samuel Gyamfi, for being very true to the cause of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Because if you don't have somebody who is focused, who understands the vision of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama in driving an economy that is self-sustaining, you cannot achieve the end goal. And so, let me commend Sami Gyamfi for doing, or contributing his part to this whole process. And also commend the finance minister and the governor, most especially, or most importantly, the governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Siama, for also allowing himself, to be wheeled on this journey of economic transformation. It is very important that all of us support this administration. Because you see, if the currency does not perform well, all of us will come and sit here and criticize. But if it is performing well, we must be also quick enough to come and commend them for doing, even if they did nothing, but we are seeing progress. We have to commend the nothing that they have done, because that nothing in itself is a solution, or has been a solution to the economic malaise that we had to reel under, you know, in the previous administration. I thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Sudan. So thank you, Alhaji Husseini. Thank you, Dr. Felix Larry Isilfi, and to our numerous viewers across the continent and the world. Those of you watching on Facebook and on YouTube. My time is up, quite unfortunately. I need to go. I'll see you on Monday, but tomorrow, Alhaji and Alhaji, make sure you do well to join Sena Numbo and his guest 9 a.m. on the dot. Do have a pleasant weekend. Bye-bye.